What's up, y'all? Rachael Hadidsaz with eXp Realty here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and I've got a special treat today. I've got my friend Scott. He's coming in from Bristol, Tennessee, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what life is like in Bristol. Thanks for coming with us today, Scott.
It's my pleasure, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
All right. So, yeah, Scott is a realtor with the same company. He's with eXp Realty, and he helps folks out there in Tennessee. As do you also go into Virginia a little bit
I
as well?
do. I'm licensed in Virginia as well.
All right. Yeah, Bristol's one of those funny cities that's is kind of on the state border there, and I think you're in both Tennessee and Virginia. Is that correct?
Exactly, exactly.
So,
The downtown Bristol, it's actually split between the two states. So if you are on one side of State Street in a restaurant and go across to the other side, you've changed states.
oh boy, that sounds
Yeah,
really
it's
interesting.
cool. Yeah.
Oh, I've only been there a couple of times. I have an ex-boyfriend from college that was from Bristol, so I did get to see the city once, and it was really cute and very quaint. And I think the high school was really nice there as well.
Yes, yes.
So, um, what can you tell us about Bristol, Tennessee, as far as what is it known for?
Well, I think most people, especially NASCAR fans, are going to think about the raceway because there is a NASCAR track here, the Bristol Motor Speedway. It's been here since I was a kid. Now it'll seat well over 100,000 people. So it's grown a lot since I was a child, but that's probably the biggest thing. It's kind of known for, they have night races there. It's the fastest half mile track. And because it's such a small track, when you go to races, you're right up on the action because all the seats are close. So people kind of love it for that. And they come and camp, the week before and have a good old time. Probably the second thing, and we already talked about a little bit, just the fact that the city straddles the state line. There has actually been a Geico commercial showing the Geico standing on the state line on State Street. And down the center line of State Street, there are brass markers. One side says Tennessee and the other side says Virginia. So that's one of the thing. And during the pandemic, there were more than one news story done on national news about Bristol because there were different rules applied between the different states to the businesses. So one business might be able to be open and seat this many people while the other state could not. So it's been interesting,
Oh, that is really interesting. Very controversial as well, I'm sure.
very controversial. And one thing that a lot of people don't know is Bristol's actually the birthplace of country music.
Oh, really? So, do you have a
Yes.
pretty good music scene down there?
It's a pretty good music scene. Just real quick, we didn't get into this, but my history. I grew up here, went to high school here, went to my first 3 years of college, then I left. And I was gone for roughly 30 years and just moved back a couple of years ago. So I've got a good perspective of the way it used to be versus now. Now, when I was growing up here, there was no music scene. Now I go downtown, there's several blues bars, that type of thing, a lot of live music venues. So they have a good music scene, yes.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. It sounds like there's a lot of fun things to do there. What can you tell us about the other things that there are to do there?
Well, there's a lot of outdoor activities someone could do here. There's roughly 20 parks in the area. There's some really good hiking, which I personally enjoy. There's a really good lake here, South Holston Lake, which is held in place by the second largest earthen dam. Used to be the largest, now it's the second largest. And the outflow of that is one of the top fly fishing streams in the country. And so one of the places I go hike is right there at the base of the dam. And they're fly fishermen everywhere. I bet you see 40 or 50 of the people standing along the banks fishing. So a lot of outdoor things to do. I mentioned the nightlife, that's a lot better. One of the things that people need to kind of keep in mind is that depending on where you're at in your stage in life, as far as whether you're still working, retired, etc., Tennessee and Virginia have a lot different tax consequences for what you want to do. So, as you know, being a Tennessee resident, our sales tax is through the roof. It's not quite 10%, but it's really high on purchases. Virginia's taxes are a lot lower. So, like for me, still working, I get to live on the Tennessee side, not pay any state income tax, which is a huge benefit, but I can go shop in Virginia and pay about four and a quarter on my sales tax.
That saves a
Um,
ton of money.
Yes, it is a ton of money. We all know as Tennessee residents how they get us. But that's one way to get around it being in a border town like that.
That sounds great. So, what are some things that people love to live in Bristol for?
Well, I can tell you for me and a lot of people I talk with, it really has a small town feel. And I've missed that. I've been in Atlanta and some bigger cities since I left here. And I come back, I've been here roughly 2 years. I've yet to get caught in traffic. Everybody's friendly. You get to know people really quickly. And it's just got a good hometown feel to it. And what I'd forgotten since I've been gone is how pretty it is here. You're right at the base of the Appalachian Mountains and you got views of mountains everywhere. I didn't appreciate it growing up, of course, as you don't as a child. But now that I've gotten back, I realized just how pretty this place is.
So, how has it changed? I know you mentioned growing up here and then you just came back after several years. How has it changed in that time?
Well, it's really funny. I've been gone 30 years and I've heard people that live here that are still my friends tell me, oh, Bristol has changed so much. It's I don't recognize it. I got back. It hasn't changed that much. The Speedway got bigger. There's a couple of big shopping centers. The mall shut down, just like it has in a lot of cities in the U.S. But it's still the same small town it always was. The population hasn't changed much. I think a lot of job growth has been in service industries instead of manufacturing. That's kind of slowed down, but it's the same town, and I love it.
So, if folks are wanting to move there, what can you tell us about the average price of a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, hospitals in the area, as well as the schools?
Yeah, so right now, if you want pretty much a standard 3 and 2, if you're in the city of Bristol, you're looking at spending about 215,000. Now, if you want to venture outside the city limits and get into the county, the average is closer to 160. It can be a little more rural, but of course you'll be on septic instead of sewer and lose some of the services. Now, I checked some stats a year ago for a good 3 and 2 here in the city. You're looking at about 2015. So we're up about 14% in the past 12 months. It's like the rest of the country, price appreciation. There's a big shortage of inventory at the time. It's very reasonable compared to many places.
Is there a lot of new construction going on right now?
There is not a lot of new construction directly in Bristol itself. What's happened here, there are no new subdivisions going in, but the older lots left in subdivisions built in the 90s and 2000s when the market crashed, builders have picked those up and are starting to build them. So a lot of not a lot of new subdivisions, but there are some new construction. Now, Bristol is one of the Tri-Cities, which are within 20 minutes of each other, one being Johnson City and the other one Kingsport. Now, both those two cities have a lot more new construction going on, plus the rural areas in between the cities. So there's quite a bit going on there, but it's a lot more expensive, as you know, for new construction right now. In this area, new construction homes going about 175 to 200 square foot.
And you mentioned that Bristol is part of the Tri Cities. You also work Johnson City and Kingsport as well.
Yes, absolutely. And the areas in between. I've worked down to Greenville, Tennessee. It's not a big area. From where I came from, it wasn't uncommon for me to drive an hour to go show a house. So this is very compact compared to what I'm used to. And I know it really well.
Fantastic. So, on that note, if someone's looking to move to Bristol in the Tri Cities area, is there anything else that you would add? What do they need to know before they move?
Well, I would think about the type of lifestyle I want. Something very important to consider is, where you're going to work. Now, there are a lot of people that may work in Kingsport but live in Bristol and vice versa. So, Kingsport's more heavy industrial. Johnson City's got ETSU, so big colleges there. A lot more retail. It's a little bigger city. And Bristol's more of the smaller retail, hospitality type working environment. So, where you want to work, how important is it for you to live close to where you work? If it's not important, you might pick the city based on if schools are important to you, for example. You might want to pick Bristol, maybe not. You want to do your own research there, but it really depends on your lifestyle and where you're going to find a job. And then, of course, as I mentioned, your life circumstances. If you're retired, you might want to look at Tennessee versus Virginia. if you're working, you're probably going to want to be in Tennessee to avoid the income tax.
That's correct. And if anyone's seen my retiring in Tennessee video, they know that we recently phased out the hall tax, which was a huge burden on your 401k and mutual funds. I think it's a huge reason why retirees are relocating to the area. And Bristol sounds like a nice, easy pace for a retiree to me.
Yeah, I think it is. And there is some potential for Bristol to see some growth pretty soon. Late last year, the legislature and the local authorities and the population got to vote on whether or not to allow gambling. So there is a plan for late of 2022, I think, for Hard Rock's going to open up a hotel and casino at the side of the old mall, and it's supposed to bring in roughly 4 million visitors a year. So there's a lot of speculation going around right now in the whole area around the mall. People thinking, well, there's going to be so many people moving in for jobs that, maybe my prices are going to take off. We'll see. We're still, about a year and a half away from that. We'll see how it impacts us.
All right. Well, we'll be looking out, Scott. Well, where can people find out more information on living in Bristol?
Best thing to do is call me or go to the website. Just contact me, and I'll see what it is that you're looking for, and I'll be able to give you
All
the
right.
code down there.
Well,
So
I'll make sure to link your contact information as well as your website down in the description. And you also have a YouTube channel as well. Is that right?
yes, I do.
I will link your YouTube channel down there so that they can go on and watch some of your videos right after this one.
Great.
And thank you so much for coming out and speaking today, Scott. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Rachel, been my pleasure. Thank you.